James Travis Pitts, age 32, married his wife Barbara Pitts, age 32, in 2014. Barbara studied psychology at Liberty University. The couple had one daughter together, 6-year-old Riley, and Barbara had a daughter from a previous relationship, 13-year-old Michaela Kleinert. James has 2 older daughters from a previous marriage. The family lived in their home on Greer Road in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, a northern suburb in Nashville. Goodlettsville, Tennessee, has a population of a little under 17,000 citizens. Both James and Barbara were employed at the Nashville Rescue Mission. James is the assistant maintenance director, and Barbara a volunteer coordinator at the same location. The family attended Bethlehem Baptist Church. On January 28 at 6:21 a.m. Travis Pitts called 911 saying he shot and killed his family. Dispatchers attempted to help him, while on the phone by telling him an off-duty police officer was on his way and very close to his home. He told the dispatcher he was experiencing mental health issues and just snapped. He also told the dispatcher, "Honestly, I just shot my wife and kids, and I'm about to shoot myself as soon as I see y'all pull up." When the dispatcher offered help again he answered, "There's no coming back from this. I mean, I just killed my family." When the officer got to the Pitts home at 6:38 a.m. he tried to talk James Pitts down using the PA system on his patrol car. When the officer asked James to surrender himself and lay his weapon down, a gunshot came from inside the home. When the officer heard the shot he made entry and found all 4 family members with gunshot wounds. James was found in the living room with a self-inflicted gunshot to his head. He was already deceased. His wife, Barbara, was found in the master bedroom with a gunshot wound but still alive. Both daughters were found in their own bedrooms with gunshot wounds. 13-year-old Michaela was still alive. Little 6-year-old Riley did not survive. Animal control officials were called to the residence to rescue 2 dogs found on the property. Both Barbara and Michaela were rushed by ambulance to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. However, despite emergency care, Michaela passed away shortly after arriving at the hospital, and Barbara died during emergency surgery. When police searched the home they found a suicide note beside the gun Travis James Pitts used to take his family's lives then commit suicide. Neighbor Ronnie Van Cleek said gunshots coming from the Pitts home is not uncommon. "We hear gunshots a lot," Van Cleek said. "Probably every other day. It's like boom, boom, boom. And it's dark out, so it's like, what are you shooting at?" Van Cleek went on to say that Pitts seemed fine up until the moment of the tragedy. "Just normal," Van Cleek said. "You would think anyone who took the time to fix their driveway and build a fence for their kids would not do this. I mean, he must have just snapped." He continued, "He obviously had some kind of mental problem. I think they may have been recovering addicts." The tragedy shocked the small community. Nashville Rescue Mission spokesperson Michelle Sanders Bryson said, "What happened is a horrible tragedy. Our hearts are broken, and our staff is shocked by this devastating event. Right now, we simply ask for prayers for this family and our staff as we grieve this tragic loss." Senior Pastor Joshua Culver of Bethlehem Church, where the family attended, said, "Of course I didn't believe it. I didn't think it was possible. When it was confirmed I just called my associate pastor and we just cried on the phone, just not knowing exactly what to do." He continued, "It's just sad. I mean, it's a tragedy, and it's not something any of us perceived happening. We never saw this coming or anything. It caught us all completely off guard. It's heartbreaking." The church held a private vigil on the same night of the murders. At the vigil, Pastor Joshua Culver said the family will be missed and it's going to be a hard transition for the church. He described Barbara as being hungry to grow, and that she wanted to know more about Jesus. He said their 13-year-old daughter Michaela was just baptized a few months ago. He said they were all bright and beautiful and full of life. In 2017, James Travis Pitts posted on Facebook about the difficulties in his life that he had overcome. He talked about how he had turned his life around. He wrote, "I left everything I knew in 2013 with nothing more than an idea that I could clean up and better my life." He said, "I found God and myself with the help of some amazing people at the Nashville Rescue Mission. Since then my life has changed only for the better. I met the love of my life, got married, and had another beautiful daughter." James continued the post saying, "I will not stop, I'll never give up, and I will not rest or slow down until all my children are under my roof where they belong." Funeral arrangements were not made known to the public. David Sawyer Claiborne, age 25, met Meredith, age 24, in 2018. The couple dated for a year and married in 2019. The couple has a 23-month-old daughter, Sadie Dawn Claiborne. Meredith was born on April 18 in 1997 in Calcutta, India. She was previously a cosmetologist, and loved painting. However, in July of 2020, the couple purchased Nichols Hole cabins and were running the business together. The cabins are located on the banks of the beautiful Caddo River. Sadie was a happy girl full of life and loved playing with her dog Moses. The couple lived at 169 Baker Road in Glenwood, Arkansas, located about 75 miles south-southwest of Little Rock. Glenwood has a population of just a little over 2,000 citizens. On January 9 in 2022, a family member stopped by to visit the family when they made a gruesome discovery. David, Meredith and little Sadie were all deceased. Police were called out to the scene. The bodies were taken to the state crime laboratory where the manner and cause of death will be determined. After an investigation, special agents of the Arkansas State Police do not think any other suspects are involved. Pike County Sheriff Travis Hill states it appears to be a double murder-suicide. He believes it is an isolated incident. Mayor Billy Smith says this sort of tragedy is rare for the area, and hits the community hard. "It just reaches up and grabs your heart," Smith said, adding that many community families have reached out looking for answers or wanting to send their condolences to relatives. "It's something no one should have to deal with." Family annihilators have received little attention as a separate category of killer, said Professor David Wilson, who is one of 3 authors who published a paper on family annihilators. He's also the director of the Center of Applied Criminology at Birmingham City University. He said, "Often they are treated like spree or serial murderers, a view which presupposes traits, such as the idea that the murderer snaps, or that after killing their partner and children the killer may force a standoff with police." The authors of the paper used newspaper archives to research 3 decades of family annihilation, from 1980 through 2012. The authors found that family annihilators shared characteristics. Very few had criminal records or had a history of documented mental illness. Some were even police officers. The clearest unifying factor is that this is overwhelmingly a male crime. While 71 family annihilators were identified, 59 were male, said Professor Wilson. We also found that the rate at which this type of crime is being committed has increased, with the first decade of the 21st century claiming over half of all cases. The majority of the men were in their 30s, while 10% were in their 20s. The authors discovered that August was the most common month for the murders to happen, and about half of the murders were over a weekend, usually on a Sunday. This is partly because the father had access to his children, said Wilson. Most of the men attempted suicide after the murders, which is in direct contrast to the previous idea that most family annihilators want law enforcement to shoot them, which is common with spree killers. The authors found there were no record of family annihilators having a standoff with police. The authors also discovered during their research that even though it's been widely believed that most family annihilators are unhappy or frustrated with a life of failure, that it's actually the opposite. Most had highly successful careers. More than 70% were employed with careers such as surgeons, executives, postmen, police and truck drivers. The authors discovered that the most common cause for family annihilation was family break-ups. The next most common cause was financial difficulties. Lastly were honor killings and mental illness. The authors found that in all cases masculinity and perceptions of power were the forefront for the crimes. The men committing these crimes feel as a father and husband, their last-ditch attempt to perform a masculine role is to kill their entire family. Funeral and burial arrangements were never made known to the public. Alexander Jackson, age 20, lived with his parents, his father 61-year-old Jan Jackson, and his mother, 68-year-old Melissa Jackson. His 19-year-old sister, Sabrina Jackson, also lived in the home. Melissa Jackson was a photographer. She previously owned Aloha Photography in Aloha, Oregon when the family lived there. The family moved to Cedar Rapids, Iowa in 2011. Alexander was an Eagle Scout who graduated from Kennedy High School in 2019. He played the flute in the school's symphony band while attending. He is currently in his second year at the University of Iowa. Sabrina Jackson was a high-achieving student. She graduated from Kennedy High School with honors in 2020. She was on the speech team that went to state. She also played the oboe in the school's symphony band, and was very interested in politics. She is currently attending the University of Iowa. Both Alexander and Sabrina were studying liberal arts and sciences. The family lived at 4414 Oakleaf Court Northeast in Cedar Rapids. On June 15 in 2021, Alexander called 911 saying that he and his dad had been shot by a male intruder. When police entered the home, they found Jan, Melissa, and Sabrina all dead in different rooms of the home. All were shot multiple times. Alexander was injured in the foot by a single gunshot wound from a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle. Alexander told police that he was asleep and was suddenly jarred awake by the sound of gunshots. He said he struggled with a masked gunman. He claimed his father left the Browning rifle over the fireplace after cleaning it the night before. Alexander Jackson was treated for the injury to his foot at the St. Luke's Hospital, then arrested several hours later on 3 counts of first-degree murder at the Lynn County Jail. He appeared before the court on Wednesday and a $3 million bail was set. He was given a public defender, Lindsay Garner. Investigators found no evidence of forced entry or burglary in the home. During an interview, Alexander Jackson denied killing his family but did admit that his father recently told him he needed to find a job or move out of the family home. Authorities say Alexander has no previous criminal record, not even a speeding ticket. His family had no previous criminal records either. Police say this is the first known triple homicide case in Cedar Rapids since 1982, when 4 people were charged with killing a mother and her 2 young sons. Each victim's throat was slashed numerous times. Alexander was placed on suicide watch, which is typical practice for the jail for any new inmates charged with crimes of this magnitude. If convicted of the crimes, he would not be eligible for parole. Anita Hansen, who lives just across the street from the Jacksons, said she just seen Jan and Melissa out walking their dog recently. She said about 8:15 a.m. she heard sirens approaching. She said she realized it was something more than a heart attack or something when she saw an officer get out holding a rifle. Matthew Meppelink, a close friend to Alexander Jackson, said that the two were just playing video games the night before the murders. He said, "I'd like to believe someone I've known for 6 years or so. I just can't imagine him doing anything like this. He continued, "I want to believe he's telling the truth and he really didn't do it, but right now it doesn't really seem like that the case with everything we've seen." He went on to say that Alexander never spoke to him about any family issues. Assistant District Attorney Monica Slaughter filed a motion requesting access to the medical records for Jackson's treatment for his foot injury, as well as the University of Iowa transcripts for Alexander Jackson to help in the investigation. Jackson's defense attorneys also filed a motion asking the court to issue an order directing the prosecutors and Cedar Rapids Police Department to turn over a garage door opener to the Jackson home. Prosecutors did not resist the motion and turned it over. The 6th Judicial District Chief Judge Lars Anderson granted the subpoenas, but the defense filed a resistance, claiming that it was privileged medical records according to Iowa law. The judge ordered the records all be released. During the initial court appearance, the prosecutor said that Jackson concocted the story to cover up the execution of his family. This was more than just murder, it was an execution of the defendant's mother, father and sister. Furthermore, the defendant's fabricated story about a phantom thief shows that the defendant acted with malice and a calculated intention to get away with these murders. Added the prosecutor. Alexander Jackson pleaded not guilty to the charges. Friends of Sabrina Jackson held a vigil on June 16 in 2021 to remember her. Friends gathered in the Kennedy High School parking lot in sorrow. Friends at the gathering remember Sabrina as being outgoing, and a person who loved to write. One friend, Gilliam Groschler, said she was just so kind, she was one of the first people who was kind to me. We clicked instantly. She was always so happy around us. Alexander Jackson's trial date has been pushed back but should start sometime in late 2022. Funeral arrangements were never released to the public. James Travis Pitts turned over a new leaf and started a new life with the woman of his dreams. However, something went terribly wrong, and instead of asking for help he murdered his family, then killed himself. When a man can murder his children, he's no longer a father but a monster. David Sawyer Claiborne had everything a man could dream of. A beautiful wife, an adorable 23-month-old baby girl, and his own business. Apparently this was not good enough, he murdered his family, then turned the gun on himself, taking the reasons why with him. When a man can look at his own baby daughter and murder her, he is beyond help. He is pure evil. Alexander Jackson's father told him it was time to get a job or move out. Instead of standing up and becoming a man, and standing on his own 2 feet, he decided murdering his mother, father and sister was the answer. He is cold-blooded and evil. May the victims in all 3 cases rest in peace. That concludes this episode. Keep your eye out for the next volume, coming soon. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.
Want to help support the channel you love, and get something in return? Simply purchase some Elizabeth's Chronicles merch. We have coffee mugs, t-shirts, sweatshirts, cozy blankets, beach towels, phone covers and more. Use the coupon code EC10OFF4U and get 10% off your order. The link to order is in the description area below this video. Thanks for helping Elizabeth's Chronicles continue to make the videos you love.